Welcome to the Fig Tree Framework, a biopsychosocial, spiritual approach to mental health, where mental health meets mind, body, and spirit. Hosted by Tina Motley. Recorded and produced by Richmond Podcast Studio.
Thanks for joining me for this first episode of the Fig Tree Framework, a biopsychosocial spiritual approach to mental health. My name is Tina Motley, and I've been a licensed therapist for nearly 20 years and have spent the past 14 years building and leading a mental health practice called Fig Tree Therapy. And in this first episode, I want to introduce the heart behind the podcast and the lens through which I think about mental health. I started this podcast because I care deeply about helping people think holistically about mental health. As a therapist, a leader, and a student of behavioral health leadership, I've seen how often people are given incomplete frameworks that miss something essential about what it means to be human. I believe faith and sound clinical thinking belong in the same conversation. Mental health has to be understood through a whole person lens. Human beings are complex. We are embodied, relational, emotional, and spiritual. And if we want to understand mental health well, we have to be willing to look at all of that. That is what I mean by the Fig Tree Framework. It is a biopsychosocial spiritual approach to mental health. The biological dimension includes things like genetics, hormones, sleep, nutrition, physical health, medication, and nervous system functioning. The psychological dimension includes thoughts, emotions, beliefs, attachment, personality, trauma, coping strategies, and inner patterns. The social dimension includes family systems, relations, culture, community, and environment. And the spiritual dimension includes meaning, identity, purpose, suffering, morality, worship, hope, and our relationship to God. When we leave one of these out, we misunderstand what's happening in a person's life. We may over-spiritualize something that has a biological component. We may over-medicalize something that is deeply relational or spiritual, or we may focus on symptom reduction while ignoring deeper questions of truth, purpose, and identity. What makes this framework especially important to me is the spiritual dimension. In many conversations about mental health, spirituality is either ignored, flattened, or treated as an optional add-on. But for many people, spiritual questions are central to how they live, suffer, hope, and heal. Questions like, who am I? What is true? Why am I suffering? What is my life for? And what do I do with guilt, fear, grief, shame, or longing? These are not small questions, and they are deeply connected to mental health. From a Christian perspective, faith and science are not at odds. A Christian worldview doesn't reject science. It places it within a larger understanding of reality. It doesn't shrink our understanding of mental health, it deepens it. We take the body, the mind, relationships, and the spirit seriously. That's the kind of conversation I want to have here. In this podcast, we'll explore topics like identity, neuroplasticity, how the immune system is linked to psychology, what trauma does to the body, and how we use other modalities like EMDR and DBT under the Christian worldview. Sometimes it will be just me, like today, and sometimes I'll bring in guests, but the goal will remain the same: to think clearly, honestly, deeply about mental health in a way that is clinically grounded and spiritually honest. This is not a podcast about trendy self-help. It is not about reducing people to diagnoses or symptoms. It is about understanding the whole person as God sees us. It is about truth, healing, wisdom, responsibility, grace, and the real hope that people can grow and change. If that resonates with you, I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for joining me for this first episode of the Fig Tree Framework.